This is the program where you get to know the person behind the persona. This week, we welcome a prominent Wichitan who has made her mark in business, education, and community leadership. Cindy Claycomb's latest role is Wichita City Councilwoman. Dr. Claycomb was elected in 2017. I call her doctor because she has earned a PhD in marketing from Oklahoma State University. Before earning her doctorate, this Bishop Carroll and Wichita State grad had worked for Boeing and Pizza Hut. In recent years, Claycomb served in a number of faculty and administrative roles at Wichita State. Then in 2018, after nearly 25 years at WSU, Dr. Claycomb retired. That affords her more time to devote to city business. She says her priorities include the local economy, safe neighborhoods, and other quality of life issues. Coming up, we'll discuss those things. We'll also try to find out more about the person behind her polished, sophisticated, yet approachable persona. So stick around as I go one-on-one with Dr. Cindy Claycomb. Hello, I'm glad you're able to join us for this conversation with Dr. Cindy Claycomb. Cindy, it's a pleasure to have you on One-on-One.
Thank you, Victor.
You're still new to serving in the City Council.
Yep.
Serving as a politician. How are you enjoying it?
Well, most days I enjoy it. You know, sometimes we get some kind of hard things to work on or upset people, and but I like to help solve problems, so that's a good thing.
So what have you disliked about it so far?
I think I'm probably not as thick-skinned as some people are, so I don't enjoy people, saying things that are hurtful. And so that's probably the thing that's probably the hardest to deal with. But, for the most part, people aren't like that. So that's why I do enjoy it.
So didn't someone tell you that to become a politician, you have to have a thick skin?
They did. They did. And what I found is that you surround yourself with friends and colleagues who know what kind of person you are and help with those kinds of things.
So let's begin by talking about you and the things that have shaped you as a person. What is your earliest childhood memories of those things that really made you who you are today?
Well, I think my earliest memories are growing up in West Wichita, and then I think the things I remember most is that we moved far west. Now it's been annexed into Wichita, but pretty far west, and I went to St. Mark's School out in the western part. And I think that really helped shape the kind of person I am. At that time we had the nuns that taught and other people that taught there, and really thought about, how to make good decisions. I think that was the thing. And then my parents also, I think they always thought that was important to teach us kids how to make good decisions.
I hear that nuns are pretty tough.
They were. Some of them were pretty tough.
Because I attended a Catholic elementary school and the fathers were tough, but I heard the nuns were tougher.
That's right, yeah.
Wow. So what kind of a child were you?
I think I was one that liked to please my parents. Not that I did everything perfect, I did not, but I liked to make good grades, those kinds of things. I was the oldest, so there were pretty high expectations for me. What I found is as my younger siblings came along, my parents weren't quite as strict with them as they were with me, and so I think I was kind of a follow the rules type of child.
So you received a doctorate degree in marketing.
Yeah.
How did you develop the notion for marketing growing up?
Right.
Did you have the best lemonade selling stand in your neighborhood or something?
Yeah, I think where I developed that desire was when I worked at Pizza Hut. So I worked at Pizza Hut headquarters for almost 10 years, and I did a lot of things at Pizza Hut, and so I got to see a lot of different areas of that company and really liked that, the marketing piece of that, and that's part of the reason that I decided to get a PhD in marketing. And then during my MBA program, my marketing classes were, supported that too.
So most youngsters would opt to leave and go to college elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you decided to stay in Wichita and attended WSU.
I did.
And then stayed right around the corner, went to Oklahoma,
I did.
and finished up your education.
Yeah.
What was the motivation?
Yeah. Well, I did go away to KU for a year and then to K-State for a semester.
Oh, that's just around the corner.
I know.
Yeah.
And then I came home. And I don't know that I actually ever thought about leaving Wichita. I did want to go away to school, and that is why I went to KU. But then I decided I really liked Wichita, and I liked living here, and I liked having a job while I was going to college, and was able to do that. And a job that really made a difference, something where I could, it attached to what I was, my business degree that I was working on. So that's how I stayed here. My husband and I had looked at times at maybe, looking for jobs in other places. And when I got my PhD, I didn't know if I could get a job at Wichita State either. So we looked throughout our married life, but have just always thought that Wichita is the best place for us to live.
Did you plan on getting a PhD when you were growing up?
No, I didn't know what a PhD was, so I did not.
So what drove you to that?
When I got my master's, my MBA, and my husband and I were working on that together. And during that time, I had professors encourage me to get a PhD, and so I kind of checked into that. They just said it would give me a lot more flexibility in my business career, and so when I was near the end of my master's degree, I visited with one of my professors and found out what it would take, and so I went home and told my husband I was going to quit my job and go get a PhD, and he said, "No, you're not." But we kind of worked through that, and because I was making more money than him at the time, and we just, didn't know if that would make sense, but we decided that that did make sense, and I'd go get a PhD.
So how did you best use your college degree, especially that PhD?
Well, after I got my PhD, then I did get a job at Wichita State. They had a marketing professor opening. I taught for a year as an adjunct. Then they had a marketing professor opening and did a national search for a professor, and they chose me. And so how I really used my PhD was training young students in marketing and in that area. And then I think it's just always, again, helped me with making good decisions and understanding that you look at target markets and you look at customers, no matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're in marketing or any field, what customers want is really what makes a business or an organization work. So
tell us and help our audience understand, what really is marketing?
So marketing is building relationships with your customers. And I think that sometimes when people think about marketing, they just think about the advertising piece of it.
Right.
And that's not really even my field. I didn't study that. I mean, I of course took classes that had that in it, but I really concentrated on customer relationships.
What about the branding side?
Yeah, and branding, of course, is important. That you have a good brand, and I think that's part of your relationship with your customers too, right? Because the brand that you have, they gravitate towards that or not.
So, what makes a good brand?
I think it has to be something that people can remember, something that endears them to your company or organization, and something that they can remember.
Okay. So we know that the various outlets for marketing have changed with the rise of the digital technology. What's your take on it?
Yeah, so I was at kind of the start of that. I was teaching when the internet became something that we began to use as a marketing tool, and so I taught one of the first internet marketing classes at WSU, which was kind of fun. We taught it as an experimental class at that time because we realized that over time that was just going to work its way into all marketing classes, but we thought we needed to have that at that time to help bridge students into that. And I think that is what digital marketing is. It's another tool that people use now that we didn't have when I was going through my PhD program. We had no idea that that's what would what would come about. And so it's become a very important tool, and even, you know, social media even has become very important.
So how has the digital age affected marketing, in your opinion?
I think that companies can get much closer to their customers almost on a one-to-one basis because of the social media piece of it. And that's different, I think, than what we've had in the past, when again you show an advertisement and hope that you are showing it on, you know, the right TV station or running it on the right radio station to reach those customers. You can really get much closer to customers. But I also think that when things go wrong, things that gets brought to the attention much quicker than it used to too, because of that. So I think companies have to balance both of those things.
And stay on top of things.
Yes, absolutely.
So you taught so many years at WSU, and you decided to change careers. Why?
I ask myself that sometimes. But my last 3 years at the university, I was assistant to the president for strategic planning, and I was on phased retirement. So I was working a part-time schedule. And I had some people approach me and ask me if I would run for city council. And I said, well, no, because I'm retiring. So as soon as I'm done with my 3 years, I'm going to retire. But as my husband and I thought about this, you know, he said, Cindy, you're going to be involved in advocating for things even after you retire. So maybe we should look at this seriously and think, does this make sense? Because if you're going to do something or advocating, would it make more sense that you had a little more say in things and ran for city council? So we decided to explore that. I did meetings with about 100 people, asking them how they thought about that. You know, did they support me if I would run for city council? And after those 100 meetings, I decided, okay, well, we'll do a real exploratory campaign, and we're able to raise a little bit of money to support a campaign, and then made that decision to run.
So when you were going through that process of exploring the possibility, what did you think? What came to mind? How did you feel about it? It was a different world for you.
It is a different world, and I was, it was nice. I felt honored that people would think that I could hold this position and represent them. After we went through the 100 meetings, then I actually started going out into the neighborhoods that I would represent to make sure that my vision for Wichita meshed with their vision for Wichita. And so that was nice to see that, you know, in amongst all these neighborhoods, that I could talk with people and we could agree on things, and we could think about how we move Wichita forward. And I won't say we agree on everything, but at least they had enough sense of who I was to vote for me.
So what does it mean to represent people, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think what it means is that I listen to people and I research issues, and then I make the best decision for Wichita based on the information that I have. And I think all three of those pieces have to be there to represent people. If I don't listen to people, if I just do research, I think that's not fair to the constituents that I represent. But I also think if I just listen and don't understand the facts and the data behind a decision, I don't think that represents them very well either.
So, you know, on boards of directors, they try to get certain talents.
Right.
Marketing expert, a lawyer, an accountant.
Right.
And you on the city council with all of this marketing experience, have you used it yet for City Hall, for the city of Wichita?
Yeah, I think so. You know, one of the things that we have been looking at is a communication strategy, and we have a communication strategy, which some people would call a marketing strategy, and we just haven't had a chance really to fully implement that. And so I think part of the strength I brought is to be able to look at that and say, that is a good plan, we should be moving that forward. And so that's one way that I've done it. And then also I just think, again, just the kind of idea of how you make decisions, having been through decision-making process on a lot of things, marketing related, but even other ways, it just makes me a better council member.
So you are the expert when it comes to marketing on the city council?
Well, Councilmember Fry also has a lot of experience in marketing. So I think we kind of complement each other because our backgrounds are different in marketing.
So what's the right way then, in your opinion, to market, to sell Wichita to the rest of the world And what's the wrong way that it's the wrong way not to do it, I should say?
You know, I think for many years we probably did it the wrong way in terms of we were very down on ourselves. I think people in Wichita had a negative connotation. And I think that we have seen a resurgence of pride in Wichita amongst Wichitans. And I think that's what it begins to take in terms of marketing Wichita to other people. When they visit here, we have to let them know that we're proud of where we live and why we're proud of that. And I think that we've seen that, a little bit of that, or maybe a lot of it came from the kind of reintroduction of the city flag. And those, but it's beyond that. It's beyond that flag. It's, you know, just the people feeling better about Wichita and what we're doing here and how we're moving things forward.
So what, in your opinion, has been wrong about Wichita?
What has been wrong about Wichita? And
of course, the other side of that coin is what is right about Wichita. So go with the wrong side first. I
think sometimes it kind of goes back to that negative, you know, connotation that we have, and sometimes I think we in Wichita sometimes think, well, we can't do that. You know, we see something somewhere else.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I think sometimes it just feeds on itself, and we kind of have this. I think that Wichitans and probably Kansans are kind of humble people. Like, it's kind of like, oh yeah, oh shucks, we did that, but that just everybody does that. And instead of recognizing that we have some really unique things here, and so you ask what's right about Wichita, those are the things, you know, that the aviation business here is so strong, even though, you know, we're having some problems because of the MAX, but in total, the aviation, manufacturing, and sales is very strong here. The industries that have grown up around that, the other industries that have joined us, the things that we're doing downtown and neighborhoods, I think those are the things that help move Wichita forward and the kinds of things that we're doing right.
So we see that the aviation industry has been hit hard in recent months.
Right.
Is there something else that Wichita should be looking for to attract, so that if one industry were to go wrong temporarily, the other will still be strong and the community will not be affected? Yes,
I think we should. And we have not the city of Wichita, but the Greater Wichita Partnership, Economic Development. So we have a plan called it's a regional growth plan, and it has identified, I think, 6 or 7 industries, one of them being aircraft manufacturing, but the others being things like healthcare and the technology sector and transportation. And so we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to attract those kinds of companies to Wichita. And sometimes I think that has to do with just getting people here and, again, seeing what the city has to offer. Because if you just see Wichita from a distance, sometimes I think you don't see the great things that we have.
So you have a daughter who is now grown up. Describe yourself as a mom. What kind of mom were you?
Well, so I was a stepmom. She was my husband's daughter, and so I think the kind of mom I was to her was to not try to substitute for her mother. And so we have a really good relationship, I think. I have a 17-year-old granddaughter, just turned 17 last week, and so she and I have a good relationship too. So I think it's more of a, again, not taking over for someone's mother, but filling in where I could.
Right.
Yeah.
We play a little word game once in a while.
Okay.
So I like to play one with you. I will say a word and you tell me the first thing that pops into your mind.
Okay.
All right? The first one is happiness.
Family.
Why?
You know, I love my family. I love being around them. My brothers and sisters are here and are pretty close. And when I don't get to spend as much time with them as I would like. So when I spend time with them, I think about that being a happy time.
Sadness.
Tears.
I think we understand why that is. Fun.
Being outdoors.
Fear.
Not being what we all that we can be.
Why is that?
I think that when I think about, and we've been talking about Wichita a lot, so I think that's why that came to mind, but I sometimes fear that we could take steps back in our progress that we're making in Wichita, and that makes me a little fearful, I guess. And so I would like, I would like to continue this momentum forward.
Food.
Gosh, all kinds of things jump into mind on that. I love food, so let's say avocados.
Oh, healthy stuff.
That's right, yeah.
Music.
Jazz.
All right. Government.
City council.
Socialism.
I think some of the things that we're hearing about these days with the presidential candidates.
Capitalism.
Economy.
Religion.
Catholicism.
Why Catholicism?
Because I was raised Catholic. I think it's why I think of that.
Money.
Something that people like to have.
What about you?
Yes, of course I do. Yeah, always. But if I really wanted money, I would have stayed in industry, right?
Yeah. That's true.
It's true.
So what is your biggest regret in life today?
I can't really think of things that I regret or sorry that I did. I don't really have any regrets that I can think of.
If you were to look back and change anything, is there anything you'd change or redo? No, I don't think so. I'm pretty happy with my life. Not that I've never made a mistake, but you learn from mistakes though too. So sometimes even those are a good learning tool. Oh yeah. So you're on the city council and you can only serve 2 terms.
Correct.
What happens after your second term ends?
I think I might retire then, actually. That would, I'd planned on retiring a year ago and didn't do that, so.
Or run for state office?
Probably not. State office is very different than city council. We're very applied. We work on things. I get to work, I serve on 10 boards and 3 other committees, and I get to work on projects and help move Wichita forward. State legislators, they are very policy driven, and they sit in their, in Topeka, and they make laws for the rest of us. And it's very conceptual in my mind, and what I do is very applied, and I like that.
So your message to the community would be what, as a city council person?
I think my message is that what I have heard from people and what my vision for Wichita is that we have a strong economy, that we have thriving neighborhoods, that it's not just downtown, that it's neighborhoods that are important too. So, how getting rid of blight and helping with crumbling infrastructure, and then that we have a vibrant quality of life. And that means that, parks and recreation spaces, again, throughout the community, art and cultural experiences for everyone. So I think when my message is that those are the things I work on every day for this community, and I hope that's what people want to hear.
So how can the people help you and the rest of the city council and other elected officials within our community achieve those goals?
Yeah, I think one thing is for people to be as informed as they can be, and I know that sometimes difficult. People are busy, they're getting the kids to school, they're taking kids to practice, they're working, so their lives are very busy. But the more informed people can be on issues, that helps, because then they have a basic understanding of what's going on. I think the other thing is that if people have a question, rather than relying on rumors or things that are passing through social media, it's okay to contact your council member and ask them about something. I like that when people do, because I can oftentimes correct misinformation that they might have.
I'd like for you to compare and contrast between your perception of City Hall prior to you being elected to the City Council. What did you think then of the council, and what do you think now?
Yeah. I think one of the things that so I knew quite a bit about City Council because I had served on, I was president of Park Board, I'd been on the Park Board for 8 years, so you see a lot of city things, and I'd been on the District Advisory Board. I'd been an advocate and worked with City Council on several things. I think, though, my perception changed getting into office, recognizing that I could pretty much fill my day from maybe 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. with people that would like to see me. So meetings, and being able to set those boundaries, because I have things that I need to do. Once, if I meet with someone, there's usually something that comes out of that, and so I think my perception changed of city council members, where I thought, oh, they have all this time to research issues and really dig into things. Well, you don't, unless you set those boundaries and are able to, and even then you still, turning people away, or not turning them away, but saying, it's going to take 4 weeks before I can get you in for a meeting, it sometimes becomes, hard for people.
So give us your vision. If you had this to do by yourself, what would be your vision of Wichita, say, in 10 years?
If I could do it by myself, we would have, of course, the west bank of the river all built out, and we'd be moving forward on the east bank with a plan, and we would have great parks in our neighborhoods, and we would continue to invest money in our roads and streets and walkable and bikeable areas.
That sounds very impressive. What about the people who may not like those things you're talking about? How do you deal with that?
And I think there are some people who don't like all of those kinds of things. What I hope is that we have a city where everyone can find something they like in it. And so I'll use like bicycle trails as an example. I know that some people have no interest in those, but one of the things that does is it attracts young people to a community. And so while someone else may not use those, if we want to attract and keep our young people, we have to do things that will do that. Many of the things that I talked about really aren't for me, because I'm going to retire and move on. But there's a whole generation and a generation behind that are going to come and want to enjoy these things.
Dr. Cindy Claycomb, thank you so much for joining us one-on-one.
Thank you, Victor.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And it's always a pleasure when you take the time to watch. Please email your questions or comments to oneonone@kpts.org. Until next time, I'm Victor Hogstrom, and I'll see you again soon.